Hey everyone, Luke here. Now before I get into the review, I just want to make a very quick saying. As you can see, I've got a Pokemon shirt on because, oh my god, next generation Pokemon games coming out, Sword and Shield, and it's based on England. It is based on England, the region, and like I'm so excited. Like obviously, you can tell that I'm excited because obviously I wouldn't be taking time out of the review to talk about this. But yeah, I've seen the trailer. It looks amazing. The three Pokemon that have been introduced: Scorbunny, Sobble, and what was the name of the rabbit monkey? Not the rabbit monkey, the grass monkey. I can't remember the name of the grass monkey, but yeah, Scorbunny, a fire rabbit. So that might mean we're getting a fire grass final form at last. I love its design, although like the little plaster band-aid that's on its forehead, that's kind of like a bit off-putting for me. I mean, if they remove that, I'd be fine with it. I'd be totally fine with it. And that little snobble water lizard, maybe its ability is that its evasions goes up by 2 stages every turn. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say on that subject, and that I was excited about it. And yeah, let's get right into the review because, oh my, that woman that I've been calling Adult Jillian all this time. Whoa, bitches be crazy. Alright, so this will be chapter 124, titled Tell Us, and we start off with the cover page, and it's quite interesting, actually quite funny as well, in a crazy psychotic way, where we see the guy with the dungarees and the meat-eating girl, basically like jumping and sort of like destroying something, and they have sort of like a cartoonish design that the guy with the dungarees has, but the girl herself, like she has, it's like more to demonstrate like their psychotic mind at the moment, because in this chapter they are absolutely crazy. Like she is beyond crazy, even more so than I'd say Andrew, Isabella, Crone, Lewis and Peter. I'd say she's crazy then. All of them put together, and you'll get to see it now. And I think this is like to represent like just her state of mind at the moment. Like she's so fed up with the demons like actually eating them. Like she's just like, I'm gonna eat them myself. I don't care what they are. I don't care what anything. I'm just gonna eat them. I'm gonna be crazy about it, and I'm gonna enjoy watching them suffer just as much as they watched us suffer. And also to confirm it, yes, that piece of meat that the girl was eating, it is demon meat, and when we get into that point, you can see like just like the horror that's going on in Emma's face. Like they're basically being psychotic hypocrites at this point, because they're like, oh, so the demon's gonna eat us. Okay, we're gonna eat the demons now. I can understand where she's actually coming from. Like she's fed up of the demons actually trying to get back at them, and they're like, well, they're meat, so we can eat them, no problem. But at the same time, this goes against what Emma's philosophy actually is, in the sense that she views the demons like they're actually a race now, and to see them and to see the humans basically doing what they did to them, that kind of doesn't solve the issue at hand, because it's just going to be a back and forth pinball game that's going to be going on forever. And they're like, no, we need to sort it out logically and consistently, because if we don't, then it's just going to lead to more bloodshed and more heartache in the future. So the chapter starts off from the end of the last one, where Emma and Ray were basically in Norman's office, and you had the three of them. You had Vincent, the dungarees guy, and the meat-eating girl. And we're actually going to find out the names of the other two in this chapter, which is actually really, really good as well. Like we finally got names for all four of them at this point. But anyway, going on, they're at the table, and Vincent is offering them cups of tea, and we get the girl and the guy just like giving the crazy eyes to them, and Emma's kind of like trying to keep her composure. She's like, I better not be pissing my pants right now, but I am going to be pissing my pants in a moment, because you can see on the face like she's just absolutely nervous, and like she's just getting bad vibes from them. And can you blame her with the way they're just doing those eyes like that and just leaning over like that? It's like, okay, I'd be like, okay, can you just get back for a minute and let's talk about this without you actually being creepy and psychotic as well. So in the next panel, we actually do get the names. The guy with the dungarees, his name is Ceslo, and the meat-eating girl is Barbara. And Barbara is it's just like leaning over Emma, like just like this force of just like sheer anger and rage, just like leaning over and thinking like, what have you come in here to do, girl? Are you gonna try and stop the plan or something? And you can just see like just the killing intent on everything, and it's just like it's both amazing to see this, but also psychotic and creepy and disturbing. The fact that these experiments that have been going on in Lambadai, I can't even pronounce the name, but the fact that those experiments just mess with their minds mentally and physically, and just alter them, just screwed with them to make them these psychotic, deranged psychopaths. It's just like, okay, something is going on, and again, it might be what I suspected with Songjin Musica, the fact that they've also been influenced by demon DNA or something, to actually get that more monstrous aspect out of them, to become more monstrous and be more like the demons than much more human, in the sense that it's kind of a reverse of Songjin Musica in a way, and it does kind of seem like that because of just the way Barbara's just like just this psychotic bitch at the moment. And yes, she is a bitch because it's like, oh my god, she is just crazier than ever, and it just reminds me so much of another character called Barbara from Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds, when Yusei went to the Crash Town in the Crash Town arc. If anybody's watched 5Ds, you know what it's talking about. And you had that like that woman that was basically started off sweet, but at the end she became just this psychotic bitch and was absolutely crazy. It's kind of the same vibe that I'm getting from her, and it's like, it's awesome, but at the same time it's sickening as well to think that those experiments just alter them so fast and so psychotic. It's like, what else could have happened? I have no fucking idea. As Cecil goes on to introduce Vincent to Emma and Ray, we get a thought of Emma and Ray like, yeah, whoa, they're all so intimidating. I'm like, you think? It's like, well, yeah, they are thinking it, but yeah, that's actually funny and disturbing all at the same time, and I just love it. Like, I love this chapter, I really do, because of just how disturbing, but also at the same time how it kind of alternates between funny disturbing and just psychotic disturbing as well. And Cecil goes on to say, "You're Emma and Ray, right, from Gracefield House?" And Emma goes, "No, not Emma." Ray goes, "Yes," and we see Barbara just like getting to the side of Emma's face, like pretty much in a similar manner to what Crone and Isabella were doing back at Gracefield House. And we see Emma just like trying to be like, I don't know what to think here. You're freaking me out here. Can you please stop it? And I'm like, yeah, Barbara is pretty freaky in this chapter, and again it just shows just how much these experiments have changed and altered them into just like this psychotic nature, and it's amazing, but at the same time really disturbing and really effed up. As Cecil goes on to explain that they're escapees too, he kind of does like a really bastard shutdown for Emma and Ray after all they've been through, and says, actually, we're more amazing, and Barbara confirms it as well. We're destroying farms, and again, it's kind of like a bastard sort of like bitchy taunt for them. It's like them saying like, "Oh, you just escaped. Oh, whatever. We're destroying farms." And it's kind of like, yeah, you are destroying farms, but at the same time, you're more developed than them, and to see them escape with 37 others, need I remind you, is pretty amazing in and of itself. And the fact that Emma was one of the ones that actually killed Lewis, somebody that had actually been poaching kids for like 13 years, or maybe even longer, longer. Like, he's been doing it for like since the Promise started, because we had that flashback from when it was 800 years ago when we saw a younger Lewis. And the fact that Emma was the one that actually brought an end to that, along with the help of others. Like I'm saying, Emma couldn't have done that alone, but the fact that she was a major influence in that fight with Lewis, or Lufus, or however you want to pronounce his name now. The fact that she was able to hold her ground and come out of that alive and actually kill Lewis or Lufus, or I say kill because we don't know where his body is at the moment, because again, we never saw his body when the Goldie Pond was being destroyed, so it's a life chance that he is still alive at some point. But again, the fact that they're saying that that's an attribute, like the destroying farms, whereas Emma and Ray actually have had to survive and come up with various tragedies to survive whilst looking out for their family, and they've done that for 2 years. They've actually held their ground outside for 2 years. That's pretty impressive in my part, considering that these four, including Sassy, are actually older than them. I'd say that's pretty goddamn impressive, and the fact that they're just saying like, yeah, that's nothing because we're destroying farms. I feel like, well, that's kind of like a bitchy bastard move for you guys to pull. As Fizz goes on to apologise for Cecil and Barbara's actions, we get Ray actually jumping in, and I don't know whether he's actually being sarcastic in this regard, but the way Emma's reacting in this panel, it kind of makes me feel like, yeah, he's being a little bit of having a sarcastic quip at them by saying, wow, that's amazing, you're crazy good, we could never pull that off, I'm impressed. Yeah, I feel like, based on what I've just said, it like that, I feel like Ray is actually being a little bit sarcastic here. The fact that he's probably thinking the same thing that I thought. It's like, wow, we survived, we got out of Gracefield House, we escaped demons, we've actually killed demons, and we're 12, and the fact that you're basically saying that's nothing compared to what we've done, that's kind of a dick move for you guys to say, so I'm just gonna treat it as more of a sarcastic quip at you guys to see how you react. And Emma's like going on to say, Ray, because she's like being like, Ray, we have to be careful because we know what these guys are capable of. They're actually psychotic in their nature, and they could actually kill us if they had the chance. But Emma's like seeing that they're actually calmed down, and she's like, wait, that actually worked. Like, that actually worked. What they said actually worked, and she's actually shocked and surprised all at the same time. And I don't know whether this is just like a switch that just gets them turned off at that point or what, but we may find out later on in the series. As Ray continues to observe the three, he goes on to say that the sign and location is the same as Norman's Lambda 7214. They can destroy their farms, which means these three could also be irregulars, like Sassy and Adam. And again, they are irregulars because the way that we've actually seen them being way more bloodthirsty and way more vengeful than any other human in the series, even more so than Peter. I'd say they're more bloodthirsty and vengeful than Peter and Adam ever will or ever have been, and even I would say argue even more bloodthirsty than Lewis at some regards, because remember, Lewis, he wasn't necessarily a good guy, but at the same time he wasn't necessarily a bad guy in the sense that he was going around and just killing kids for just like pitiful means. He actually had a purpose for his actual hunts, and he was bloodthirsty, but not in the same way that they're bloodthirsty. Like, they're just frightful spectral. I don't care what they are demons and they need to be killed. Lewis actually respected the humans, and actually you could have an intelligent conversation with him, even though he would try to kill you. You could at least talk to him and get to understand what he's all about. And in another series, in another world, he might have actually been your friend at some point, but at the same time he was still bound by his nature to actually hunt and kill. But at the same time, he wasn't going to do it without actually respecting his part. He actually gave, like, because seriously, he could have actually killed Lucas and Emma if he had the chance, but the fact that he actually gave them a chance to fight back and actually put his life on the line showed that he had more respect for them as humans and as individuals than pretty much arguably any other character in the series. Peter, Andrew, and all the other demons, he had much more respect for them, and the fact that they're irregular shows that they're much more psychotic than Lewis actually could have ever been. And I really hope Lewis comes back in some form or another, maybe not as an ally, but just sort of like as someone who can sort of like be on Emma's side in exchange for, if I help you with this, Emma, you have to fight me to the death. We have to actually settle this once for all. Me and you, no one else. I feel I could actually see that happening if Lewis actually did come back at some form or another. I could see him like helping out Emma in exchange for a fight with just her on her own, nobody else, or just her on her own, because Lucas is dead at this point. Just her on her own, a fight to the death. Whoever wins, wins. And I could actually see Lewis doing that if he actually came back and did that. Like, okay, Emma, I will help you sort all of this out, but you have to fight me. Deal? And they would actually make a deal. I could actually see them making a deal like that. Ray goes on to say that Vincent is the guy in the infirmary yesterday, so they are in the boss's room while the boss is gone acting like this. They're not foot soldiers like Hattori or Jin, but higher ups. I should avoid trouble for now. And yes, Ray, that's a good idea. You should avoid trouble because you don't want that. You don't want to get on their bad side. You don't want to piss them off because one false move and they could actually just break you right there and then. Emma goes on to say, thank you for yesterday, but she's like saying it like very reluctantly based on what she's experienced and how much of a bad vibe she's actually getting from those three. And really, can you blame her at this point? She's just been put into this room and she's just had like pretty much the worst fear in a safe place since back in Gracefield House when she was actually in that mind game with Isabella. The fact that she's having that same vibe again, I feel, just shows that she's like, okay, I'm gonna tread thinly, but I'm still gonna thank them for what they did yesterday because they still helped us out in a lot of ways. And they go on and they continue on by saying, you treated Chris and Dominic, and Vincent goes on to say, yes, boss thanked me for that as well. I hope they get better soon. And Emma's just like delighted that Vincent is thinking that way before she's interrupted by another good old-fashioned Barbara creepiness by going, yes, that's what we want to know. And Emma's like more intimidation. She's just like being pushed to the side with Ray. It's like, Ray, can you help me here? And Ray's just like not saying anything. It's like, I'm not getting you out of this one, Emma, so you're just going to have to help yourself at this point. And she's like, oh my god. And again, Barbara's just like, they're just like, yes, we want to talk about that. Yes, Em's like, okay, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this. I'm like, this is probably the most psychotic character in the series. I'm going to say, like, she is the most psychotic in a sense that she's just very intimidating, but at the same time you can't not help but not ignore her because if you do something she could probably kill you right there and then. As Cecilo gets up in Emma's face and it's like, yes, tell us stories about him, and Emma's just like, Ray? And Ray's like, him? Before they're actually like, about the boss, Minerva James, and we see like a different expression from Barbara. She's like, about the boss, Minerva James, and she's kind of blushing as well. So like, does she have a crush on Norman? Maybe she does, because the way that she's actually just flipped from that. We want to talk about yesterday. Can you tell us about the boss, Minerva James? It's just like, okay, yeah, she is. She definitely has a crush on Norman at this point. She definitely has a crush on him. And Cecil goes on to say, or as you guys called him, Norman. Tell us about Norman. And Ray's just giving off just like a brain. I think it's a brain fart or something of Ray, because it's just like giving and just like lightning bolts are coming up on lightning bolts are like forming around him in the panel, and Emma's like, is this and then they're like, yeah, the truth is that they love the boss. Okay, yeah, Barbara has a crush on Norman. That is pretty much confirmed by this, and they're like, they love Norman, and then Barbara's like, shut up, you love him too. So again, she's probably been like the tsundere of the series at this point, and we've not pretty much had a tsundere in the series so far. We've had yandere. I would argue at certain points. But anyway, going off anime stereotypes, they go on to say, and they can't hide their excitement because you are the boss's friend from before, and Cecil's like, you too? You're the boss, Vincent. You're the boss. You're the same as well. You love the boss as well. And you want to find out a different side to you. And I can see where they're coming from, because they've only seen Norman as just like this stern, ironclad, by the books person, and see him being happy and cheerful. That's kind of a different side to them, and I don't think they can process seeing the boss like that. It's kind of like seeing Simon Cowell on a Thomas the Tank Engine ride. It would just be weird. It would really just be weird, and and I feel like they feel the same thing. They feel the same thing here. The fact that Norman, this guy who's broken them out, who's just done all of this as well, to see him being laughing and cheerful and having a different side to his personality, it's weird for them in the same way as the example I gave it. Or it's like seeing Light Yagami, Light Yagami laughing at a comedy and enjoying some ice cream. It would just be weird. So Cicero goes on to say, of course I want to know. This morning after I came back from patrol, the kids downstairs were talking about it. I was told that the boss was acting completely different yesterday. And like I said, the fact that they've seen Norman as just like this stern, ironclad person seem happy and cheerful for I think the first time they've ever known him. It's just weird, and it's like a different experience for all of them, as opposed to the Gracefield lot and the grandfather lot who have just met Norman and just know him based on what Emma and Ray have possibly told them, about him. And it's like that. It's like seeing two different sides to a person, being like, do you actually really know what they're like? And it could be the same thing for Emma and Ray as well. Do you actually really know what Norman's like? And as we get into further, particularly at the end of this chapter, it's like, maybe there might be something more to Norman than meets the eye. Cicero goes on to say, like, different how? Of course I'd think that. Of course I'm interested. And I heard that you were really close to him. And again, it's like meeting someone that, it's like you've known someone from, like, let's just use this as an example. Like when, like, say you went to university and you met some really good friends, and you formed a bond with them, and you had like four friends that you actually were inseparable, and then they all go to they know you, and they know like a personality of you. Like, say you're this stern, ironclad person, and at university you just buy the books, no holds barred, not taking any nonsense from everyone, and then you go to their family home and you meet their family, and their big brothers are like, I told you to do the dishes. I'm like, I'm sorry. I told you to wash up. I'm sorry. Like, oh my god, this kid is so unreliable when it comes to regular housework, and he's so childish when it comes to like trains or cars or that. Like, it's like your best friends from university meeting your family for the first time, and actually finding out there's more to you than they initially thought. And it's the same thing here. They're like, so what kind of person is Norman? And it's like, yeah, spit it out. They're hiding their embarrassment. And it's and Emma goes on to say, well, I don't think he's changed from before. Really, Emma? Really? You're gonna hide that now? You're absolutely gonna... Oh, okay. Okay, if you want to hide that, Emma, that's fine, but it's going to come back to bite you in the arse later on. Emma goes on to say that Norman is kind, smart, and it's always smiling warmly, and we get a flashback of her and Norman when they were probably 4 years old, probably before they actually went to discover that gate, and they're playing cards, and it's like royal flush, and the smile of spring. Emma goes, like, just showing how much Norman actually means to her, more so than I think these four, like the four higher ups, Sassy, Vincent, Cecil, and Barbara, more so than what Norman means to them. Because what Norman means to them is like a guy who's a god, who's very much a god that can solve everything. But to Emma and Ray and all the Gracefield kids, he's one of them. He's one of them. He's a human. He can make mistakes, and he can't solve every problem that's thrown their way, and he can actually lose. But they don't see it that way. They just see it like as this omnipotent God who can solve all their problems and make all their dreams come true. And I feel like both sides are going to come into conflict later on, and this is particularly apparent when we get into the ending of the chapter. But anyway, continuing on, they Barbara and Cecil go warmly, smiling, and then they're just laughing their ass off and going, he's completely different, and Emma's like, what? But Ray's just giving like this stern expression, like he's kind of like, Yeah, I kind of expected them to say that because of based on the way we've actually seen Norman when we first arrived here, and how he's like taken this colder persona, as it were. But Emma can't see that at the moment. She really wants to see like the Norman that she knows, even though in the back of her mind she's slightly being like, he has changed, but she actually is in that state of denial about it, and she can't bring herself to admit that Norman is different. Norman has changed at this point. I mean, maybe I'm pretty sure she did. No, she didn't mention this in the last chapter. But no, she's still in that mindset. Like, it's kind of like you've known someone for so long and you just perceive them like this. Like, you can't accept that they're anything different from what you've actually perceived them. It's like, no, Norman is like this. Norman is like this. This is not like Norman. Norman is like this. And the fact that she's seeing other people who are seeing him differently, it's kind of like conflicting her ideology. But anyway, they go on to say... and I only started to describe him. He is different. He's that different. Emma's like, he's that different? Well, what's he like now? Because again, even though she might be in the back of her mind thinking like, no, Norman is Norman. Norman is Norman to me. This is the Norman I know. She might be. She's kind of like trying to be open to the idea of like, okay, so how do you perceive him? All three of them go on to say that Norman is serious. Winter. Now this really confused me. It's like, why would he say winter? And I'm not making this a joke or anything. Like, I am serious. Why would Vincent say that about Norman? It just doesn't make any sense, because it's like... No, maybe it's a metaphor. Like, maybe that's a metaphor for how cold Norman is, because winter obviously is reference to cold, and maybe that's what Vincent's trying to get across. Like, Norman is a more cold individual now, and he's trying to but he doesn't want to tell them exactly that, so he's kind of like being more structured with his words than just coming out and saying it. But the funniest part here is when Cecilo goes Emperor, and Ray is just sipping a drink and he's like, what? Emperor? And he's just like, oh, sorry, because again, they've never seen Norman as like that. They've always seen him as like, he's one of us, and he's just a normal kid like any of us. But they've seen him in a different way after all the experiments that have actually gone on in Lambda, and it's kind of like changed him. And it's kind of like it's like seeing two completely different people at this point. Cecilo goes on to say, so aren't there more things, maybe something like embarrassing stuff from when he was a kid? And oh my god, I know that feeling. I know that feeling when you're just like, when you're just like, I've got a reputation to uphold, and then you just have your family coming in and saying like, oh, like the time you wet the bed when you were younger. It's like, oh my god. We've all been there, guys. We have all been there when you have a reputation to uphold, and then you got your family just coming in and just being embarrassing for you. I mean, I love my family, but sometimes they can be embarrassing sometimes, and it kind of gets on your nerves, and it's especially when you're trying to make a reputation, trying to make yourself look good, and then they've just coming in and just shooting that down. It's natural, because that is relatable. That is relatable when you would want, when you're like, you want your friend, when your friends want to like, okay, so what was he like when he was a kid? And it's like, don't tell them, please don't tell them. And Ray goes on to say, oh, like how he used to wet the bed until he was 10 years old. And Cecilo's like, yeah, like that. I don't think these are stories like that. He didn't wet the bed either. And they're like, oh, so he didn't. But Ray goes on to say, oh, but before he tried to cure his cold, and then Ray goes on to like continue explaining, and it's sort of like a time skip going on of them just telling embarrassing stories about Norman. And that would be hilarious if that actually came back in the next few chapters, and it just embarrassed Norman to the nth degree, and just so that they could see like just his more cheerier, more childlike personality at that point. I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happened. As they continue the stories, Vincent goes on to say, thank you. You've told us very good stories. In the end, you were the most interesting, and you're crying. And then Barbara continues by saying, "So the boss has been killed since before, hey? Thanks, I'm glad you told us." And Cecil goes, "I know, he hardly talks about his past." And again, someone like Norman, that would be natural for him, because it's like at that point he'd lost everything. He failed to get everybody out of Gracefield House, and he felt like he betrayed them, and it felt like he wasn't worthy to actually lead them, more so than Emma was. So the fact that he wouldn't talk about his failures in that regard, that actually makes sense for him. So he wouldn't talk about his past or where he came from. Emma goes on to ask, so the current Norman is, and they cut off by saying, a good guy, cares about his friends, but he's not smiley or warm. And again, that's perfectly natural for Norman at this point. It's like, okay, I tried to get through this by being just smiles and a good little boy, but now that I'm in this situation, I have to be more cold and elusive, yet still care mostly about the people around me. And they go on to say he sacrificed his time to sleep in his dedication to save all the children. All of us were saved by him, and he was the one who made us realise this power and how to use it. And Emma's like, the power from Lamberdale, and they go on to confirm that this is the case. Experimental Farm, Lamberdale, 7214. We are comrades who all met in that dung heap. And Cecil goes on to confirm, originally me and Barbara are all from Goodwill Rig. Now, Goodwill Rig is, I don't think we've actually heard of that before, but one we've actually heard about before, and it's a very important one. Vincent was born in Glory Bell, and in case you guys have forgotten, Glory Bell, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty damn sure that is the one that Lucas and Hugo were from. And this actually got me thinking, like, maybe Vincent actually knew Lucas and Hugo. Maybe he was their big brother figure, or maybe he was a little brother to them, and he got taken away at the same time that they were trying to escape. Like he was pretty much the Norman to them, them two. Like he was pretty much a Norman to them two that got taken away to Lamberdale, right as they were about to escape themselves from Glory Bow. So it's entirely possible that's the case. Now I have to go back, I have to look, but I can't remember if Vincent was one of the names that was on the wall that Hugo had scratched in when he went through his psychotic mental breakdown from being in the shelter for 13 years. But yeah, I'm pretty damn sure that Vincent was born in the same place that Lucas and Hugo have, and if that's amazing. But at the same time, I'm surprised that they didn't even mention that. Like Emma didn't mention Lucas and Hugo being from Glory Bell herself at this point, or very possibly, I'm surprised that neither of them actually mentioned that. Maybe they've been through so much that they actually haven't had the time to actually think about that, and they could actually bring that up to Vincent later on in the future. They go on to say that the three of us obtained power from the fire experiments at Lamberdale, and every day was like hell. No, even hell isn't a strong word. A bunch of children died or were killed. We were treated worse than objects, and we just see like just the kids that were deemed failed experiments just being thrown to the wild demons to be eaten as carcasses for them. Before they go on to say, if the boss hadn't have come, I wouldn't be alive. A 12-year-old kid looked like God to me at that moment. He comes up with the strategies, and the four of us, including Sassy, carried them out. All of the farms were destroyed. Were released by the five of us, and they were like, 5 of you, and Emma and Ray are like, 5 of you, that's it, to show just how insanely strong these 5 are. Like Sassy, Norman, Barbara, Cecilo, and Vincent, to just show how insanely strong those 5 are. It's like 5 of them actually destroyed all the farms in that 2 year time skip from what's been going on. But again, this actually proves that Norman is actually the youngest out of these 5, because it's like they're just really, despite Norman being 12 years old, he was referred to them as he was referred by them as a god, like and it just shows just how insanely intelligent Norman is, and the fact that even adults will actually follow him, even though he's not as developed as they could potentially be, and they could actually outwit him and overtake him if they wanted to. But the fact that he actually came up with the strategies, and they actually succeeded, made that they pledged their allegiance to him and they will follow him regardless of the consequences to them, or the consequences of the actions that they may entail, that they may partake in the future. Now, of course, we get into the darker aspects of this chapter, as Sethel goes on to say, yep, like I said, we're amazing. Don't worry, his strategies are perfect. Our power and victory are absolute. And we get another creepy dose of psychotic nature from Cicero by saying, I can't wait. I want to kill them all soon. And Emma's just looking like really shocked and worried. Every time I kill a demon, I feel better. And Barbara goes on to confirm that, me too, my anger dissipates when I kill them and eat their meat, confirming that yes, the meat that she was eating was demon meat. And Ray goes on to basically confirm this as well by saying, then could that meat be? And they're like, ha ha ha, they're freaked out. And Barbara goes on to confirm, yes, this is demon meat. This one is a staffer of the farm we attacked the other day, and it might be the farm that Anna and Emma and Ray went to. One of those staffers, or it could possibly be the one when these four were first introduced, and she was like, "Can I eat them? Can I eat them? Can I eat them?" I'm not really entirely sure. It might possibly be that farm that they went to with Norman, and they blew it up. So yeah, that could possibly be the case in this regard. But the fact that seeing Emma just shocked like this, and just seeing like just the hypocrisy coming out of them at this point, makes me feel like she's not going to mention she might mention Musica to them, or she might just keep that to herself. And I'll get into this when we get into my theory about what's going to happen next, at the end of the chapter. And this is where we got to start seeing how crazy Barbara actually is. So she goes on to say, it pisses me off that they keep eating us. I still remember everything. Their eyes, the pain and suffering repeated every day. They're all the same. They're enemies. Just killing them isn't enough. That's right, the Atari clan and the demons. And again, this is where the experiments are just like messed up with their minds, because the fact that she is just saying like all demons are evil. They're the scum of the earth. They need to die, and she's not thinking the same way that Emma's thinking. Like they are families. They're not these demons aren't going around hunting humans. They're just buying the meat to sustain their family, and they want to survive just as much as they want to survive. But Barbara is going to have none of that, as we'll soon see. As she goes on to continue saying that and she goes on to say the Ratara clan, the demons, can all experience what we did. So she's like basically saying like, I want their heads, I want their bodies, I want them to feel a sliver of the pain that we've been through. And again, while her motives are understandable, she's going about it in the wrong way, and she's becoming more psychotic, and she's not seeing the fact that if she came across a demon child, she'd probably be like, oh, young meats, now they're going to see what it's like to lose a sibling as well. She would probably actually do that. She would be crazy enough to actually do that. And that's something that really contrasts with Emma's ideology, as you can see through just like the scared, shocked expression on Emma's eye. And as Barbara goes on to say, can all experience what we did. As Emma sees what Barbara has actually been saying, and how psychotic she's actually being, they all notice this look, and Ray's looking like even more intimidated at this point, like, because he cares for Emma, he cares for her well-being, and to see her this intimidated, basically for him spells bad trouble. And Cecilo is like looking at this like, what? You're not thinking, Emma. You're not thinking something here. You're not thinking the same way we are here. And Barbara goes on to say, what's that look? And Emma's like, just like giving like this look of like just utter depression, basically disgust at them. Basically, she's disgusted at what they've actually become, and she's like, I don't want anything to do with this. And Barbara goes on to say, you're not feeling sympathy for the demons, are you? She's giving like the crazy look of like, she's actually figured out what Emma's actually been going through. And before going on to say, why don't you look happy? Aren't you happy? You were raised as food, but you're not thinking that you don't want to kill the demons, right? You said you wanted to talk to the boss. It better not be something disgusting like changing his plan. and we see just how crazy Barbara is actually getting by just taking the bone of the demon that she was actually eating, the meat that she was actually eating, and just crushing it on the table, like she's getting absolutely disgusted by Emma's philosophy here of not killing every single last one of these demons, like, because Emma's philosophy has actually changed at this point. She's actually seen that not all demons are out to kill them in the same way that not all humans are out to kill the demons, and there might be the slimmest chance that they could actually work something out and come to a compromise where both species can actually live together, even though Ray thinks it's impossible, and to some degree Emma might think it's impossible, but there might be a sliver of a chance that could actually happen. And as Cecil sees how psychotic Barbara is coming, he's like, hey, stop it, you're going to break the base. And Barbara is just not listening at this point. She's just in her own mindset about what Emma's actually been thinking. The look that she's given, like, look of like, you're sympathizing with these creatures, they're monsters, they are eating us, we should be eating them as well. And she goes on to say, demons are monsters, they need to be exterminated. And they're like, Barbara, stop it, Barbara. And Barbara at this point just calms down. But again, you can understand where her motivation is coming from. But at the same time, she's like, she's going about it in a really psychotic way, and it's not good or healthy for anyone. And the fact that she can't see the fact that demons have actually made their own families, and all she sees them are just like these bugs, these like creatures that just need to be squashed out, eradicated 100%. Again, goes against what Emma's philosophy actually is, and it's going to be great to see how they play off each other in the future. After Barbara calms down, Vincent goes on to say, either way, it's too late, everything's fine, there's no change. Boss expects the plan. Boss expedited the plan and started the operation this morning. Even if we went after him right now, we won't make it. By the time he comes back, no one can stop it. And Ray goes on to say, you said he was out. Where did Norman go? And Vincent goes on to confirm he went to go and see one of the pawns, and we get Norman where he's actually gone at this point. It's like we get a message from an unknown source by going, we've received your letter, William Minerva. I'm here to discuss what I wrote. And we see the final scene of the chapter, which is Norman going, I've come to offer officially form an alliance. Let's destroy this world together. And we see a long line of 5 demons, and that's where the chapter ends. Now, these demons, I could see them actually being one of two things. Like, they're much more advanced experiments from Lombardy that have actually evolved into demons themselves. Like, they're humans that they used to be humans and then sort of like evolved into demons themselves, or they're just regular demons that are just like sick of how the world is, and they want to go back to the way it was a 1,000 years ago. And even though he's not here, I pretty much 100% guarantee that probably Lewis is part of this group as well. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Now the way I see this going down is that Emma is going to find this out, and she's going to inform them all of what Musica and Songju actually are to them, and how much they owe to them, and they're not going to listen to them, and it's going to sort of like escalate into a civil war between Emma's forces and Norman's forces. I could actually see that happening. Like, there's a civil war about what is the right thing to do with this world, how we're gonna cope in this world. And I feel like Emma is gonna go off and find Musica and take some of them with her. Obviously Ray, Don and Gilda, possibly Anna, just take them off with her to actually find Songju and Musica and warn them of the impending danger that's gonna come off, and they may form an alliance and actually gather more demon allies and sort of like turn into a civil war. Like, we don't want this, but we want this, and it's gonna just end. And I can actually see it, Emma and Ray versus Norman, in just like a fight, like just a straight up fight between those three, because that has to happen at this point. Emma cannot be in Emma cannot agree with Norman's plan, especially after seeing Barbara. She cannot agree with Norman's plan, and she actually has to put a stop to it at this point, because otherwise it's just going to lead to more bloodshed, more people dying, more demons dying, when there doesn't need to be necessarily any bloodshed at this point, and they can actually come to a compromise. But anyway, guys, what did you think of the chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and this will be Lasher Luke signing off. Later, guys.